true definition of love, it's everything. You talked about your favorite leadership quote, and I would say almost the same thing, that if you don't love your people, you can't be an effective leader. You have to. True leadership, you said true leadership. Remind me of exactly your quote, because I don't want to misquote you.
A leader is someone who brings out the best in others.
Perfect. And I've always said that true love is doing what's best for the other individual.
Yeah.
They're parallel. You cannot tell me you're effectively leading a team if you're not trying to do what's best for your team. That doesn't mean doing what they want all the time. I have a speech that I'm working on for that says servant leaders aren't nice.
Yeah. Stop being nice.
Servant leaders aren't nice, but they do what's best. And love, you think of it like your kids, right? You're not going to do everything that your kids ever ask. They'd eat candy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They'd play in the street. They do all, but you absolutely always are trying to serve them by doing what's best and offering what's best. And as leaders, I think love, our logo, which I don't think you see anywhere right now, but our logo at SML has an actual heart in the logo, because we believe that leadership that's rooted in love is the only kind of true leadership there is.
Yeah. So your own story, just in terms of like what, you talked about the martial arts and how that was the thread of leadership. What were some of the events in your life and some things that have kind of led you to where you are? And also, just kind of from your experience, what has informed this whole, because you've done a really great job of kind of outlining the philosophy and what it looks like and who it's for. But what were some things personally for you that have really formed this in you and, that really drive you about bringing this to the workplace?
I think I'm gonna go start backwards. Bringing it to the workplace, I was a training manager in corporate America and realized we were not doing this. We were completely focused on operational excellence and operational development and training, and genuinely couldn't figure out why we were losing people and why our leaders were burning out. And it took us a while. I'm kind of embarrassed because I was the training manager. My job, and I took it very seriously, was to empower them for success. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. We fixed the onboarding system. We did all sorts of stuff. And eventually I remember asking the question, have we ever trained them how to be leaders?
Yeah, that's really good. If I may, by the way, this was such a revelation for me too, that recognizing that management is not leading. It has its place and it's crucial, but historically, almost everything up into probably 30 years ago that was called leadership training was actually management training.
Exactly right.
And I'm just going to say that because I'm not trying to like steal your thunder or whatever you're saying, but what really helped me in all that was recognizing why this matters is because management comes out of one side of our brain and leadership comes out of the other. And so when you're talking about these real world and the relational aspects of that is not a management process. It is a leadership process. So go ahead, and I'll let you go from there.
No, I'm so glad you brought that to the conversation. I couldn't agree more. You'll love the fact that when we first kind of had this conversation, I remember telling the CEO that I worked for at that time, we were focused so much on operations, and I remember just looking at her saying, it doesn't matter how well they know how to do their jobs if they don't know how to lead their teams.
Yeah.
Because that's the operational side. That's fine. Of course we promoted our best operators. That's what you do. You take your best players and you promote them. But if they can't lead their team, if we've got other great players leaving because no one ever taught them how to answer questions with dignity, no one ever gave them the understanding of the role that they now have. They're not just supposed to be superstar operators. They just went from 100% operations to like 20% operations and 80% relations. They've got to learn that. So that's where my passion came from. I realized it was a problem within the organization that I was serving. And as we sought to rectify it internally, it became painfully obvious that this wasn't a problem we had. It was just a problem that needed to be addressed. And when I realized there wasn't much that was being offered in terms of a real solution, that was the seed that was born. It didn't start as SML Consultative. It started as the Servant Minded Leadership channel on YouTube. And eventually it got bigger.